You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Now, after Osoff voted early, he then went to Morris Brown College. Remember, we had the president on here talking about them pursuing a reaccreditation. And there, Osoff talked about the importance of Morris Brown and what he would do for HBCUs if he is elected United States Senator. Here is some of that discussion.
I want to point out it's been 8 months since the U.S. Senate passed any direct stimulus payments for the American people, and they've decided after 8 months of obstruction they're going to send $600. Well, for folks who are unable to make the rent, can't make the car payment, can't afford the prescriptions, behind on the bills, $600 is a joke. And the truth of the matter is that they don't care about regular people. If the most powerful investment banks in the country, stock valuations started plummeting overnight, they would jet back to Washington in 4 hours and pass legislation. But when it's ordinary people, when it's corner mechanics, small businesses, they held it up for 8 months and they cut it in half to $600. I would have voted for the bill, but it's a joke. $600? Mm-hmm. So we need to reorient the mindset of our elected officials toward helping regular people, and that has to happen at the ballot box, and the polls are open right now.
Right. There you go.
And let me be clear that President James and I were discussing this back in the spring. We were talking about what Georgia's United States Senate offices can do to help accelerate the process of reaccreditation. Under your leadership, Mr. President, that applications be accepted. They'll be here in January, and it may be as soon as the springtime that Morris Brown will be eligible for those kinds of federal grants. So expanding the Pell Grant program should be non-controversial. When I debated my opponent, I'm not going to get too partisan here at an educational event, but I'll just say this. When I debated my opponent in Savannah, back when he would debate me, and I was arguing for expansion of the Pell Grant program, he denounced that as socialism. Expansion of the Pell Grant program, college affordability. Bishop, have you noticed that there's always money for tax giveaways for wealthy donors? There's always money for bank bailouts. There's always money for war. But then when you start talking about making college affordable for young black people in this country, suddenly the country has no resources. It's about priorities. Yeah. And Morris Brown and HBCUs must be among the highest priorities for political leaders. It's been too long since political leaders talked about ending poverty in America. We've become, I think, too cynical. Yes. Unwilling to dream about what's possible. We should not accept that poverty and homelessness are inevitable or necessary in our society. As long as there are poverty and homelessness, we are failing as a people. So we need to once again talk about ending poverty in America, talk about ending homelessness in America. The problem of gentrification in the urban core of this city. And again, I want to observe the discrepancy between the level of public resources invested in entertainment and the level of public resources invested in education. As people are forced out and as black communities are forced out of the center of this city by the rising property taxes, our government's failure to invest in transit, in transportation, and in affordable housing means that people are living far from where they work and can barely put a roof over their heads. And that's why we need an infrastructure and jobs bill as part of a relief effort after COVID-19 that will include investments in transit and transportation and in affordable housing.
I believe that was our last question for our time today. Sir, we want to thank you again for being here today.
Thank you.
You know, just for the media to know, an invitation went out to everyone, and you were the only one that responded. And so we want to thank you for your investment into HBCUs, specifically here at Morris Brown College. Morris Brown is back. We're going to bring this institution back stronger than ever. The only black college in Georgia founded by African Americans, for us, by us, and an institution that is a haven for hungry souls. We don't turn folks away. Anyone who deserves an education, anyone who wants an education, the doors are open here at Morris Brown, and we appreciate your support. As soon as I leave here, I'm headed over to vote. So we encourage the entire community to please vote. And thank you so much again for being here today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just
It's
one-
time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
I'm doing great. Wasn't this a great rally?
It was. First of all, thank goodness there was no rain. Otherwise, we'd be playing in the mud over here. But one of the things that jumps out yesterday, amazing turnout on the first day of early voting. Fair Fight says 41% of the turnout African American.
Well, I'm so excited to hear that, and just to have President-elect Biden here really speaks to how important it is. And we need all of the influence and excitement that we can get, because it's always a challenge to get people to show up for runoffs in our state. So I'm glad that all eyes are on Georgia, and we did it in November. We'll do it again.
You talked about it in your speech. You had to deal with that in terms of running in a runoff and eked out a win. And it's all about ground game. It's all about, it's really just driving folks. You can run all the ads you want to, but you really got to touch the folks to get them to know the actual runoff date. Hit Strategy did a poll with Higher Heights, and 35% of the black women who were surveyed didn't even know the date was January 5th. And so that's the other thing as well.
No, it's so important because we have to educate people. We have so many new voters in this state, and so many people believe that they got it done when they went in November, and they don't even understand the concept of a runoff. And that's why it's important for us as elected officials and community organizers to educate people and tell them why it's important. And when we tell people why it's important, they will show back up to vote.
President-elect Joe Biden gave you a special shout out. You were one of the early supporters of Biden. And I remember at the debate in Atlanta, there were some other mayors, I won't say their names, who were jumping ship and going to other candidates. And you were not shy about calling them out.
And I still do it every opportunity that I get. Shall I start the roll call right now?
We're not gonna say anything, Steve Benjamin, Columbia, South Carolina.
You said it, not me. Steve is gonna kill us both. But Steve is our friend, and obviously that was a tough decision. We won't get into the details of that, but he wasn't the only one. So I'm just glad we're all one family again.
Of course, and then of course having Ossoff and Warnock, it's very interesting. I interviewed both of them, and it's very rare to see candidates essentially run together as opposed to running separate races.
It is. I've never seen it, at least in my voting life in Georgia. I don't know when, if ever, we've had two Senate runoffs. So this is just such an extraordinary time for so many reasons in this state. But to have the opportunity to change the landscape of the United States Senate is an opportunity. If it's ever happened in this state, I don't remember it. And on top of all of that, just two immensely qualified men who will represent us so well.
All right, last point here, just looking to the camera there, there's somebody out there who is registered, but they're like, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if this politics stuff, it doesn't work. It's not really going to solve any problems. My neighborhood hasn't changed. My community hasn't changed. What would you tell that person who is on the fence about voting in these runoff races?
Every election is another opportunity to get it right. That's what our democracy is all about. We are not a perfect country, but every few years we have an opportunity to work towards creating something better for our communities. And the power is within each of us. Our vote is our voice. And we spoke loud and clear. We made a change in the state. We made a difference across this nation. And the opportunity to have two senators to support the agenda of President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris is an opportunity that probably will come once in a lifetime, and we have to exercise our right to vote, as Congressman Lewis reminded us, because if we don't, we could lose it.
Back to that Roland Unfiltered video in just
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. To get a sense of how desperate they are, look how desperate they are in Georgia. They've been attacking Pastor Raphael Warnock, and they're trying to Jeremiah Wright him. They've been sending around, and I've seen it from Dinesh D'Souza to Nikki Haley, Tom Cotton, Marco Rubio, all these people here. So go to my iPad. This is the 26-second video that they have been sending around. So watch this.
America, nobody can serve God and the military. You can't serve God and money. You cannot serve God and mammon at the same time. America, choose ye this day whom you will serve. Choose ye this day.
Now that's it. That's the clip. No other context. Oh, they've been trashing him, saying he's against the military and how dare he, and Georgia voters. So Nikki Haley actually, so I'm going to show you the attack ad they put out. Y'all play the video. This is what Nikki Haley and the Republicans are now using to attack the faith of Pastor Raphael Warnock. Watch.
How bad is Raphael Warnock for America? Let's count the ways. Raphael Warnock is a proud defender of anti-America pastor Jeremiah Wright. That's right, this guy.
No, no, no. Not God bless America. God damn America.
Warnock's response?
We celebrate Reverend Wright. He is a preacher and a prophet.
Warnock even called police gangsters and thugs.
Police power showing up in a kind of gangster and thug mentality.
Warnock's church hosted a love fest with communist dictator Fidel Castro. And Warnock signed an anti-Semitic letter accusing Israel of apartheid and supporting boycotting Israel. Warnock eulogized cop killer Troy Davis. Warnock supports socialized medicine that would end private insurance and put government in charge of health care decisions. And Raphael Warnock supports trillions in new tax increases, even on working families. So how bad is Raphael Warnock for America?
Come on.
Let's review.
All right, I can bail out of that crap. Now, I want y'all to show what they did there, Robert. First of all, they put all the black stuff up front, and they put the taxes and the health care stuff at the back. They throw in there that he gave a eulogy to Troy Davis. I didn't realize it was against Christianity for pastors to give eulogies to folk who died. But I guess for them, it doesn't even matter. But there's a video that somebody sent me. First of all, I'm trying to get my hands on the full sermon so we can have the sermon in context. I had to do the exact same thing when it went after Reverend Jeremiah Wright. But y'all watch this. Republicans not going to show y'all this video. This here is a video of Raphael Warnock welcoming to his church a Republican named Johnny Isakson. Who is that? Oh, that's the Republican who was a U.S. Senator from Georgia before Kelly Loeffler. This was at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Watch.
And he and I are friends. We've had a good relationship and good dialogue across the years. He's a father and a grandfather. He's here with his lovely wife, Diane. Stand up, Mrs. Isakson. We're glad to see you, Mrs. Isakson. She said, yes. Would you give a great big Ebenezer welcome to Senator Johnny Isakson? He just wants to say hello and goodbye. We're grateful for his service.
Good morning. Raphael, thank you very much. Raphael and I are on a first-name basis. We are great friends, and I consider him one of the great friends I've gained over the years in being in public life. That's the one thing about public life. You make lots of friends. You want to make sure, always sure they're not ones with their picture in the post office, but there were others at Ebenezer Church or some other good place to pray. But I'm glad to be here today to bring you a message, and I asked to become. I called Raphael and said, can I come? He said, well, you're leaving. I said, no, I'm not leaving. I'm just retiring. There's a difference. Leaving is the next step, and I ain't hurrying that one up in at all. But I wanted to come and just say thank you for all the things you've done for me over the last 45 years. I've been in elected office 45 years in Georgia. I was born here in 1944, and I've been here ever since. And love this city and love this place and love all of you. And as Raphael said, started coming to the King's celebration service when I got elected Republican leader of the House, Georgia House, 28 years ago, or whenever that was, a long time ago. And I came because I thought I should, and then I came because I wanted to. And I came because my bladder could handle it. It is a long time to sit through, that's sure. But I come to tell you three things. One is chairman of the Veterans Committee in the Senate. As a veteran myself, how many veterans do we have in the congregation today? Raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you. For all of you who notice, that's more people proportionately that are in any other church that have served in the service. Less than 1% of the people who serve in our military today service is protecting us. Less than 1%. And they're all volunteers. Think about that. The greatness of this country is in large measure because we can depend on them at any point, any time, any place, no matter what somebody does. And just yesterday in Pensacola, a terrorist killed an American airman. They're in his second year of training. Another wasteful shooting on an institutional campus somewhere in our state. We've got to make sure that stuff stops. And as long as I have a breath in my body, whether I'm in elected office or not, I'm going to do everything I can to see to it that we get end violence in our schools, end violence in our shopping centers, and our Walmarts, and our churches, and everything else. Taking a life is taking a gift from God to us, and we should never, ever.
So, Robert, here is a Republican U.S. Senator standing with Raphael Warnock talking about veterans and military service, but the Republicans want to say Warnock is against the military.
Well, two things. Putting that sermon in context, I'm actually at both of those church services. I'm a member at Ebenezer. In the first video of Warnock, I'm in the second row all the way to on the left, all the way to the right in the pews. I should probably go back to church more often. But what we're seeing now is that Republicans have found a candidate that they have nothing to attack them on. They found somebody who's nearly squeaky clean, who's really lives the life that we want our pastors to live, and therefore they have to make up things to run against them on. The same thing that happened to President Obama, where you have to attack Jeremiah Wright's words, not his words, actually. And this goes towards a continuous battle and destruction that white evangelical Christians have launched against the black church. They only believe you should be Christian when you agree with them, when you're preaching the same word as them. You cannot share your own individual lived life experiences as Jeremiah Wright did or as other pastors have, and that's why they attack them. Meanwhile, Franklin Graham or Billy Graham or Pat Roberts can say whatever they feel like, and that's off limits. So let's understand what this is. It's an attack on the black church and the body of Christ within the black community. And I think that has to be remembered on January the 4th, or more so on December 14th when early voting starts, or even right now when you can start requesting your absentee ballots, or all the way until December 7th when you can register to vote in Georgia. Because we cannot stand to have Republicans attacking the body of Christ in the name of Christianity itself, a Christianity which is profligate, which believes in excessive spending, which believes in taking away social services from the poor, that believes that universal health care is somehow a bad thing that pastors should be against. Let's understand what this battle is really about. You have somebody like Kelly Loeffler, who has the temerity, the audacity to make attacks against the character of Pastor Warnock, and nobody knows what she's done in her life besides marry a rich dude who bought her a Senate seat as a present. She has no history of politics. We don't know what her career was before this. All we know is that she married into a family that owned the New York Stock Exchange, and they bought her a Senate seat. And you're trying to impugn the character of Pastor Warnock in this way. Y'all are lucky that I don't work on the Warnock campaign team, because all these nice commercials of him walking through a grocery store talking about how much he loves dogs and puppies and eats pizza with a fork, it will be scorched earth if I was on that campaign, because I do not believe it is appropriate, and we allow people too long to get away with attacking the black church as a political punching bag, as if we mean nothing to our community. Those pastors preach the lived experiences of their communities and their congregations, and I don't see them showing the videos of Pastor Warnock with the Occupy Atlanta people, ministering to the homeless, his drug treatment ministry. I had a client once whose mother was convicted of a crime she didn't commit and sentenced to 20 years. Pastor Warnock hopped on that immediately to help get that woman out of prison. That doesn't make the news. But when you want to make up these attacks on the black church and then claim to be the party of Christianity, that is what the level of disgust that I think many of us have with the quote-unquote evangelical movement, and why we have to work overtime to get an actual man of God into the Senate instead of these phony, fake, circumspect, only conveniently Christians that are only Christian when it lines their pockets. They're ready to sell out stocks on coronavirus instead of dealing with the needs of the American people.
The thing here, Lauren, again, their whole goal, you take a soundbite like that, 26 seconds, get circulated. I put Eric Erickson and Hugh Hewitt on blast by saying, is there anything else to it? Y'all want to find that? But also find it interesting, Lauren. So let's attack Pastor Raphael Warnock's faith, but we can't say jack about Amy Coney Barrett's faith.
Of course not. Of course not. It all sort of throws back to the trying to radicalize black candidates. I mean, this has been going on forever. really before the Southern strategy. It's the same old thing of trying to portray Black candidates, particularly Black male candidates, as somehow radical. And really, the whole goal here is, ooh, we're scaring white people. And we've seen it a million times. It was done to Reverend Jesse Jackson when he ran, obviously Obama. It's the same thing, the same playbook. And what the Republican Party seems to never figure out is that these are the types of ads that only appeal to the people who would vote against Warnock anyway. So it's all a big waste of time. Who are they going for? Are they going for swing voters? Well, if they're going for swing voters, that's not going to work. Everybody knows that Pastor Warnock pastors in the same church that Martin Luther King pastored in. That's not going to work with progressives, white progressives in Atlanta. So these things are just thrown out there 26 seconds. And at some point, and I will help you find it, Roland, the entire sermon will be found, because of course you can play this game all day, not only with the entire sermon, but of course with a million other sermons that Pastor Warnock has made. You can run 26 seconds of other things that are going to, of course, counter whatever that was. And frankly, I didn't think that was a particularly jarring passage at all. But I'm sure that when we find what he said around it, it's going to put it in a certain context and blow that all away. But this is desperation, because they cannot have the Senate be 50-50. See, the bigger issue here is that the House is looking like the Democrats are barely over the majority at 221. They're barely at 218. And then if you have the Senate, of course, tied, and Kamala having to sit up in the, as the presiding officer, obviously it's president of the Senate, to break that tie, this gets real. So these 2 Senate seats, this thing is obviously huge. So now they're going to go scorched earth. They're going to go desperate, and they're dealing with Raphael Warnock, who there's nothing on. So we're going to reach the desperate hours pretty quickly here.
The thing here that I find to be hilarious is that you got folk like Marco Rubio, Scott, who loves to tweet out Bible verses. I mean, he sent this tweet, go to my iPad. Not shocked, Georgia Democrat Senate candidate Raphael Warnock said you cannot serve God and the military at the same time. These and even crazier things is what the radicals who control the Democratic Party's activists and small donor base believe. Now, here's how Mark Lamont Hill will respond to him. Christians believe in the Bible. Matthew 6:24 says, no one can serve 2 masters. Warnock is a minister who was pointing out that God must come first. Do you disagree with the Bible or the words of Jesus, or just when Warnock says it?
Exactly. I am so tired of politics of fear. And that ad, I mean, I agree with my colleagues, but I'll be honest with you, we can go get the full text of his speech or his presentation, but it feels defensive if you do that. Raphael is a man of God. Jeremiah Wright is a man of God. They're servant leaders. And when you attack them, because of something they've said or because their love of their people, it just rings hollow with those Democrats, those independents, Black or white, as well as the Black community in regard to how important this election is. And the Republicans, Lauren, you're right. They just operate in fear. They don't have anything else to operate in because the numbers are against them. And so I think Raphael Warnock has got to stand on his own. He can defend himself, no doubt about it. But remember, while it was close, Georgia is a purple state. It's turned slightly blue, but it's going to turn all the way blue if we can mobilize these Democrats who are running for Senate. It's all about the ground game now. I mean, they can run the ads and try to scare people, but whoever has the strongest ground game, they both have money, and mobilizing and getting people to the polls is going to make the difference. And right now, in my opinion, that's really all that matters. What is your ground game, Raphael and Osoff? And can you motivate and can you get them to the polls? You just count them.
Well, bottom line is this here. All I'm saying, Robert, I want to see Black folks maximize the hell out of our numbers. I'm talking about Stacey Abrams has already said some 600,000 Georgians have already requested their ballot by mail. I'm talking about Black Georgia. Black Georgia, I'm talking about if you want to send a signal, if you want to tell them what y'all trying to play this game with Reverend Jeremiah Wright and these sermons, You hit them with so many votes, they going to look up and say, oh, my Lord, has there been an exodus? What's going on? That's how you respond to white Republican hate, Robert.
Well, on that point, remember, I was at that sermon. What Pastor Warnock was saying, it replaced the word military with militarism, that you cannot serve both God and the God of militarism, that you cannot both serve God and a profligate economy that does not care for the least of these. He was making very clear biblical points, and that's why they took it out of context. Even on the conversation about police officers, where they say he called police thugs. No, he calls the police officers who beat and kill people thugs. Not every police officer, the one bad apple.
Now we all know that. But again, their goal. They know they dumb followers can't read.
But to that point, I think it's important to understand, look, the normally voter turnout for runoff elections in Georgia is 10%. So in this general election, there were right around 5 million votes cast, split right down the middle. So if 500,000 people turn out for the runoff, that will be right at average. With that, you only need 50% plus one to win. So we're talking about 250,000 plus one votes. We'll decide the layout of the Senate. We'll decide the balance of power. We'll decide Medicare for all. We'll decide student loan reform. We'll decide defense spending and tax cuts and entitlement programs and Social Security and Medicare. All that will come down to 250,000 plus one people in Georgia. And then whenever someone tells you that they don't think their vote matters, understand how small of a number that is. And that's why it's important to support groups like NAACP under James Woodall in Georgia, who are working. They're sending out absentee ballot request forms to every single person who voted in the general election. People like D. Dawkins Hagler and the Deltas down there who knocked on 200,000 doors headed into the general election will do the same going into the runoff. People like NSAY and the New Georgia Project, Latasha Brown and Black Voters Matter, Rainbow Push Coalition, who's working with the incarcerated populations to do in-custody voting. We have so many people working this, and understand that's why they are running these desperate ads. That's why they're taking things out of context and running. If you're 18 years old voting in this election, you don't know who the hell Jeremiah Wright is. They are only playing to a certain subset of very old, elderly, conservative white voters and hoping that they will turn out. So all that Black Voices for Trump stuff that they were talking about 6 weeks ago, that's all gone. They're going directly back to attacking the body of Christ in the Black church, attacking the Black community, and making sure that they push this messaging to scare old white people into believing that Pastor Warnock is some kind of Black radical who hangs out Fidel Castro. This is the desperate play that they do to try to radicalize Black men. And we've seen this, everything from Dr. King, where they called him a communist, to Run Jesse Run in 84 and 88, to Barack in 08, and now Warnock in 2020.
Listen up, all my Black... Look, y'all, let me just try to be as clear as possible. Last comment on this story. I want to whoop their ass. I'm talking about I want to whoop the ass of Loeffler, of Perdue. I want them to feel the pain and the agony of losing to Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. I want them to have to sit there and watch them votes come in from Gwinnett County and come in from Fulton County and just hit their ass like a hurricane has hit Georgia. And I want them to have to sit there and go, damn, how many Black people did we piss off? That's the only way. Everybody who's listening to my voice, you should be telling every friend, frat brother, sorority sister, church member, nephew, niece, cousin, mama, daddy, aunt, friend, you name it, living in Georgia. I'm talking about when they had Get Your Booties to the Poll, when they had the folks, I don't give a damn if you love Magic City. I don't care if you love them hot wings. I'm talking about you send a message to racists by throwing their ass out. And there's nothing better than those racists that have to stand there and watch a Black man sworn in as the next United States Senator. That's the only way you defeat them, and you make them pay the price at the ballot box. That's how you do it. Folks, back to that Roland Unfiltered video in just one. Seek.com, founded by Mary Spio, a sister, have these amazing VR headsets. Allows for you to watch their content, the virtual reality content, right here on the headset. You simply pop your phone right into here, close it up, and then you will put yourself in the room watching their VR content on Seek.com, or, of course, content that is on other platforms. And so you can check that out. They also have these are 4D 360-degree headphones right here with tremendous bass that really distributes the sound all across your head. It's great. You can attach a headset to it, so you can actually use it for gaming and playing with free hands. There's Bluetooth as well. So all of these, get one of these items, or you can subscribe to the content at Seek.com by going to Seek.com using this promo code. It's RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020. These, of course, could be some great headphones coming up for birthdays, Christmas, you name it. And so if you want to do that, just go use the promo code right here, RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020, by going to Seek.com, and we certainly appreciate them being a partner here with Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
All right, folks, let's talk about that race in Georgia. The deadline to register is December 7th. December 7th in that particular race. The runoff will take place on January 5th. It will pit, of course, Pastor Raphael Warnock against incumbent Senator Kelly Loeffler. And then, of course, you have John Ossoff, who's challenging incumbent Republican David Perdue. Now, here's the deal. Early voting, December 14th. Now, already, y'all, they starting a mess. Go to my iPad, Anthony. Kelly Loeffler, she put out this tweet today. Reverend Warnock is a proud defender of Jeremiah Wright. He called police officers thugs and gangsters. He's anti-Israel, anti-Second Amendment, and sympathizes with Marxists. Too extreme for Georgia. First of all, you ought to hear this nonsense. Watch this, y'all.
Meet Raphael Warnock. He wants you to know he eats pizza with a fork and a knife. He once stepped on a crack in the sidewalk. But Georgians don't care about that. Georgians care that Raphael Warnock was a proud defender of anti-American, anti-Semitic pastor Jeremiah Wright, who suggested America deserved the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Not God bless America, God damn America.
We celebrate Reverend Wright.
Warnock said law enforcement officers are gangsters and thugs and a danger to children. He's anti-Israel, anti-Second Amendment, sympathizes with Marxists and socialists, and wants to make your neighborhoods less safe. Don't let him fool you with pizza and puppies. Raphael Warnock is too extreme for Georgia.
Ooh, Robert. Ooh, Robert, the black guy is too extreme. He's too extreme for Georgia. This is the same Kelly Loeffler who trashed Black Lives Matter, where her own, she owns co-owns the WNBA team. Her own players basically told her to go to hell. How do you think that's going to play with black voters and white voters in Georgia?
Well, I think that commercial, that was written directly from the 2008 anti-Obama playbook. I think it's literally word for word what a John McCain ad said back then with regards to Jeremiah Wright and Marxism and extremism. This is not going to work. Let's understand that if it was not a jungle primary on November the 5th, Pastor Warnock, who's my pastor at Ebenezer, would have won straight out. In Georgia, during the jungle primary, the names are listed in alphabetical order, Warnock being at the end. Even being at the end of a list of about 20 candidates, Warnock got the most votes of anybody in that jungle primary. So what we're going, in addition to that, another benefit coming on January 5th is that the Secretary of State today announced that the other statewide runoffs will also be on January the 5th instead of December the 1st. So that means my friend Daniel Blackman, who's running for Public Service Commissioner, will be on January the 5th now, as well as the runoff between between Howard Franklin and Kwanzaa Hall for the remainder of John Lewis's term. So by moving those to January the 5th, that means we're going to have enormous turnout in Atlanta for both that congressional seat for John Lewis, which will have former City Councilman Kwanzaa Hall campaigning for, as well as Howard Franklin and the Public Service Commission race. Normally, in a runoff election, you get about 10% voter turnout compared to the general election. We're going to have several times that number because of the interest in this race, the amount of money that's going to be spent in this race, and there's a very good chance that Pastor Warnock will win his race versus Loeffler, who is a political neophyte, who has the issues with selling off stock and being in coronavirus, who said that she is the most pro-Trump senator that there is in order to beat Doug Collins in that crazy primary that they're running against each other in, and also who's been disowned by the WNBA and who has ties to Wall Street because her husband owns the New York Stock Exchange. So Pastor Warnock has an outstanding chance, but we have to push those turnout numbers on January the 5th. We have voter registration all the way up until December 7th. Early voting starts December 14th. You have the opportunity to request your absentee ballot right now in Georgia. You have to get your absentee ballot application. Then they send you the ballot. Then you can send the ballot in. It's a 3-part convoluted process. But with that in place, if you have the same early voting numbers that we got for the general election, then more than likely Pastor Warnock will win, and by extension, John Ossoff will have the opportunity to win also.
And that is that this is one of the things that Stacey Abrams put out here. She said if you're a college student registered to vote in Georgia, you can actually request your ballot at ballotrequest.sos.ga.gov. You can also, if you have any questions, call the Voter Protection Hotline at 888-730-5816, and so that's one of the things that she put out there as well. The thing that to me that's interesting to me, Scott, is again you're seeing Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, Senator Marco Rubio, they picked up on what Kelly Loeffler is putting out there. And I'm just sitting here saying, all right, I mean, y'all can try to use Reverend Wright, and you could, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, Kelly Loeffler, you're trying to say that a pastor at Ebenezer is anti-Israel. He probably can give you a lesson on the Bible.
Exactly, and the the Quran and the other
the Torah
book, the Torah. Forgive me, but wait a minute, guy. You know, Roland, I'm a little disappointed in your intro on this because Kelly Loeffler, the one who's been endorsed by QAnon, and the QAnon and their racist and their call for violence, that the Congresswoman, I believe from Alabama or Georgia, campaigned with Kelly Loeffler in order in this race that is turned into a runoff. Is this the same Kelly Loeffler you're telling me about? On top of the WNBA and her team rejecting her? We ain't even talked about that. So the gall of her to suggest that Jeremiah Wright, one of the greatest preachers of our time, or in history, if you will, regardless of whether you believe in what he preaches or doesn't, but QAnon? Oh, and by the way, there are a lot of white people on the front lines with Black Lives Matter demanding and protesting the police who act like thugs, if you will, and criminals. Let's just call them what it is. They may not all be that. But I also think that if you tolerate that on your police force, you are just as liable. That's another discussion. But let's not forget the QAnon, or whatever you call it, that is this mythical conspiracy of deep state and racism and calls for violence against people. That's who she not only has embraced, but they've endorsed her as well, and she's campaigned with their representative. Enough said as far as I'm concerned.
Rena, go ahead.
And this is the same Kelly Loeffler that in March of this year she and two other members of Congress and their advisors sold hundreds of thousands of dollars in stock after attending a closed-door briefing about the coronavirus. That's the same Kelly Loeffler. This woman.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I mean, And okay, no surprise, the Justice Department in May of this year closed the investigation into all 3 of those senators for those stock trades they made, when the coronavirus was causing market turmoil. But these guys got the tip. So the fact that this woman is a U.S. senator just disgusts me. I mean, she's just ridiculous on every level. Number one, the imagery, I mean, I guess it resonates with some people, but she is so non-representative of the American woman. And so I'm not surprised that she got involved in insider trading like that, because she's probably like, what? This is just business as usual. So anyways, that's how I feel about Kelly Loeffler. But we should look at the facts here. And in Georgia, it's not great facts, but there's a silver lining. The Senate elections are usually likely to turn out more Republicans there, and that's based on past election data. Now, we know, though, the African-American voter turnout in the general election was historically high in Georgia this year. And I think that's what's going to motivate African-Americans again. We've got to be real about this. Whites in Georgia, more likely to be Republican. When they're affluent and white, they are more likely to be Republican and more likely to turn out for runoffs. We've got to combat that. I'm very proud of what happened in the general. I think Stacey Abrams deserves, medal upon medal, but the work is not finished. This has already felt like the endless election, and even though all of us agree and know that it's fact that Joe Biden has won, this was something I was a bit afraid of, is that the Trump campaign and his lawyers want to prolong this thing. So I don't know if Scott can offer any input here as an attorney, but my sense is that this whole hand recount thing, which is really an audit, it doesn't matter, it's just verbiage at this point. But I think Trump and his people think it could be to their benefit because it kind of puts off certifying electors. Could it lead us to a situation where Georgia legislature certifies electors in Trump's favor? Is that kind of the end game here? So I haven't had a chance really to investigate that today, and I apologize to the audience that I have not. But I don't know if Scott could shed any light on that.
Well, anything's possible with this Republican Party. Let me say this. The second prong to any audit or recount has to do with, is it going to change the outcome of the election? Even if you had electors from Georgia who would come and then create an issue for the U.S. Senate to determine who to certify, the Trump electors or the state legislature electors, Georgia state legislature electors, or the Biden, the winner Biden electors, if it doesn't make a difference or it doesn't change the outcome, that's the second prong of any test on these audits or these runoffs. So I still don't think so. They still have to put up or shut up. And so the Georgia race, going back to the Georgia race, let me just say this real quick. This higher turnout that we're going to have in this special election because of the money and what's at stake at the Senate, I think it helps Ossoff more than it helps, ironically, Warnock. Because Warnock and his race has all the celebrity and money and media attention, but also barely forced a runoff. And now with this heightened scrutiny on it, right, I think he's going to be the surprise, that he's going to beat Senator Perdue. We'll have to see. But, Roland, what do you think about that theory?
Well, I think really what you're dealing with here is that the only way there's going to be a heightened turnout is if the ground game is put into place. Typically, there's a dramatic drop-off when it comes to runoff races. So what has to happen is there has to be this really focus. Republicans have already announced that they're going to send Mike Pence to Georgia. Personally, I don't think Donald Trump's ego will allow him to sit in the White House. I think he is going to go to Georgia. I think, and you're already seeing this, I believe that Fair Fight, Stacey Abrams' group, I believe you're going to see Black Voters Matter, you're going to see Until Freedom. I know a number of groups who are already focused. I can tell folks, we are going to be focused there as well. I mean, I'm literally sitting here looking at a house that our team can rent for the entire month for 5 weeks. We plan on having multiple crews. who are going to be in Georgia as well. We want to be in those places, such as Albany. We want to be in Savannah. We want to certainly be in Atlanta. Want to be in Fort Valley. Our plan is to go to those places where black voters are, talk to them, and so that's one of the things that we're doing. So that's going to be intense focus, but this runoff is going to be, they could talk all day about money. They could talk all day about blanketing with TV ads and radio ads. This is all about ground game, Robert. And if you're the DCCC, you're the DSCC, you're the Democrats, it has to be about ground game, ground game, ground game. You have to look at the last election, you have to look at the runoff and say, what do I anticipate there being a drop in terms of turnout, and then how can we get our people out? That's how they're going to have to win this race.
You're absolutely right, Roland. Back in 2010, I was the field director for Ken Hodges, who was the candidate for Attorney General in Georgia. And we had a 159 county strategy where we had either a church or a supporter in every single county in the state of Georgia. We hit the ground hard, while I think Roy Barnes was running for governor that year, hit the airwaves hard with commercials. We got more votes from the third spot, from the Attorney General's spot, than Roy Barnes got for governor, or that the person who was running for lieutenant governor got from the lieutenant governor's seat. Georgia is all about ground game and knowing where to go, when to go, and how to get there. Even in the deepest red Confederate flag, MAGA country part of Georgia, there are black families, black churches, Hispanic populations that can be reached out to and touched, and that many people forget to get out of there. You cannot just campaign in Atlanta and think you're going to win an election in Georgia. Once you cross 285, you're in a completely different state. And if you do not understand that territory and how to campaign there, then you're not going to be able to win. And one of the problems that Democrats often have in Georgia, in the South in general, they'll get a race like this that's close, where you have a runoff, where you have a chance to win, and instead of talking to Fred Hicks or talking to some of the political strategists who are from there, they'll bring in people from D.C. and New York and California to try to run a poll-tested and focus group certified campaign, and those always lose. You have to hit that ground running, and it's important to have a message that's going to turn out your base. Runoffs are about turning your base out, not about persuading new voters. Right. So instead of trying to find that one swing voter who voted in the 1984 election for Walter Mondale, seems you can bring him back to the Democratic Party, you need to be hitting these communities in Columbus and Albany, Augusta, Macon, Statesboro, Rome, Georgia, Carrollton, Athens, all around the state where you have minority populations that vote 90% for Democrat, and making sure you get them to the polls. Buses, churches sold to the poll. Early voting matters. If we have those sorts of turnout numbers, that's how you win a race in the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to boil down to, Rena. How do you see Republicans playing this race? Obviously, both sides know how critically important these two are. Republicans right now have a 49-48 advantage. They won the seat in Alaska. If they win these two seats, they'll be 51-48. If they win one, 51-49. Democrats need both to force a tie, with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris being the tiebreaker, which means they will control the chamber. And so how will Republicans try to go after these two seats?
Well, I think it's going to be everything in the kitchen sink sort of effort, because the reality is that Joe Biden is up 14,000 votes, right? And that's where we're at. That's truth. And that's in Georgia. So there's a lot of disgruntlement right now amongst GOP operatives down there of sort of like, how did we get here? But I also know how we got there. I look at, let me be clear here. I've looked at some exit polling. I don't really trust exit polling fully, and I think all of it needs to be taken with a grain of salt right now until we have complete totals everywhere. So I will say this: I think obviously GOP operatives are fretting. Ossoff is a sort of known quantity. Warnock is not, politically speaking. Ossoff having run before. But I think the wild card here, I think, is Warnock. And I've already started to see on the right the stories come up. And I was not aware, for example, that Reverend Warnock and his wife are divorced and they'd had a domestic dispute as he was preparing for his Senate run.
That was an alleged domestic dispute. It went nowhere.
Okay, so
Yeah,
thank
she
you for bringing
alleged
that up.
she alleged that he drove over her.
Information.
She alleged he drove over her foot.
That's right.
It went nowhere.
Oh, that's good to know. But I mention it only because I was not aware of it previously. I saw the Atlanta Journal-Constitution covered it way back in March or whenever it happened earlier this year. And then they got divorced, a few months later. I didn't even know he was married or single, whatever, but I'm seeing this headline popping up again. And I know that the GOP has a problem with white suburban women who are around my age in their mid-30s, particularly because we have young children. We've gone to liberal colleges mainly. We've come back and lived in the suburbs of Georgia. This is a reality, is that this disinformation campaign, or making Warnock seem out to be like an angry guy who runs over somebody's foot just because, it's coming out because they want to question sort of his fitness for office. And I think that's what they're trying to put in the minds of these younger white suburban women, is like, hey, you might be good with Joe Biden because he reminds you of your very sweet uncle who, is from a nice era and very statesmanlike. And look, I've been so impressed by Joe Biden and how he's been handling this Donald Trump concession stuff. But are you, what they're trying to sow doubt with, which is rich of them, is sort of, are you good with this black man who you don't know much and hasn't really been in the light that we all know much? He's been, part of Ebenezer, but do you really know him? Do you know he was involved in this? So that's what I see kind of happening right now. And I think operatives are going to get really, really nasty in the next few weeks. So we all have to be really alert as to what is truth and what's fiction.
Look,
well, there's no purity test in all this, though, is it, Roland?
Go ahead.
I mean, there are no character purity tests. Each of these four candidates have their either political or personal flaws. So what? I mean, Donald Trump's not going to be on the ballot down there. Loeffler and Warnock are going to be on the ballot. If you want to compare characters, I'll take the minister's character over Karen or Loeffler's anytime if they want to get into that dirty kind of smacking match, if you will. I don't know whether that's going to be a big issue. I understand the GOP strategy, but Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have got to get down to Georgia. The whole personality piece, it may be relevant, but it's not going to be dispositive because the Senate and who controls the Senate is going to be on the ballot down there. And I think that's what's going to turn out or going to drive that turnout. This is a national race, even though it's in Georgia. And so we'll certainly have to see. Again, I say it's going to help Osoff because of the national attention and the money going in there right now. But getting people to the polls, getting them to the polls on election day or before election day, if there's early voting, is going to be key. And whoever executes that the best are going to win these one or two races.
Look, I think that, it's going to be an enormous amount of money. When, Nancy Pelosi spoke out about, how the candidates run there in Georgia, I was like, you know what? Let the folks in Georgia figure it out. And to your point, Robert, that is exactly it. Frankly, white consultants coming out of D.C. can't come into Georgia to say, hey, this is how you win Georgia. That's not going to do it.
Hey,
the people in Georgia know best in terms of, if you look at Warnock and Ossoff, because I'm quite sure they are going through that and they're looking at the numbers. They're looking at precincts. They're looking at who voted, who didn't. Somebody floated this story today that 95,000 people voted for Biden, didn't vote for anybody else. I'm sure people are like, okay, where are those votes? Because this is going to be a close race and margins are going to matter, which is why if black turnout intensity is at a high rate, that can very well offset what is happening other places.
You're absolutely right, Roland. I cannot implore the party enough. $500 million on both sides of the aisle is going to be spent in this race in the next 60 days or so. So it's crucially important to hire black consultants on the ground, hire local consultants in your local region. Don't simply think you're going to hire a kid from Emory or somebody from Gwinnett County and send them down to Brunswick, Georgia to do door-to-door campaigning. It's not going to work. Work with the local organizations. Put street money out there. The black church is alive and well as a motivator of people to vote in this state. Make sure that you have somebody who can connect you with those ministries and get out there on the ground. Do not sit up in Buckhead head thinking you're campaigning to the state. Do not lose this race as we've seen happening before. And don't try to bring out-of-state issues to Georgia and think you're going to campaign on them. I've seen where they'll bring something which is popular in California and think that you're going to win a district attorney race in Telfair County with it. It simply put does not work. So the local touch is crucially important, and that ground game and that effort. Don't just run commercials on cable news and think you're going to win. You have to put money into Black radio. I don't care if it's a podcast or talking on somebody's iPhone who has 100,000 Instagram followers. You have to get out there and touch people where they are and make sure that you are beating the bushes to turn out your vote. Don't do this whole song and dance where you try to convert the Reagan Democrats back to the party. This is not the time for that. 10% of people who vote in general elections usually vote in runoffs. You got to get that closer to 15 or 20% on the Democratic side if you hope to win.
And I think that one of the things they're also going to have to do is, and again, this is, look, this is one of the hardest things I think for these campaigns to understand Black people. What often happens is they'll say, well, we're going to focus our money just on the media outlets there in Georgia. We're a little bit different in that our people are communicating with our people in Georgia. We're communicating with HBCU students. And so when you support this show, when you support syndicated Black radio, you're also hitting those particular places because we are reaching out to our folks there as well. And I think that's one of the things that these campaigns don't quite understand about African Americans in terms of the role that Black media plays in terms of being able to drive information to places like that.
You're absolutely right. And so if you're not advertising on Black radio or Black television, Black media, if you're not working with all the organizations, we have conference calls each week with Rainbow Push, Urban League, NAACP, Fair Fight, NSA's group, New Georgia Project, so many people who are organizing on the ground and who are working to get these people out and who have been working on these things for years. You don't have a Blue Georgia without Helen Butler. You don't have a Blue Georgia without Rita Samuel. You don't have a Blue Georgia without Janice Mathis. Those are the people who have been who've been fighting these fights long before people even knew there was a fight to jump into. And you have to support those organizations. Don't just go national, go granular, and make sure you're talking to people where they are. Those are the folks who are going to win this election.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, folks, at Seek.com, I want to thank them for being a partner with Roland Martin Unfiltered. Mary Spiel, the founder of this Black-owned virtual reality company. You can watch their content at Seek.com, CEEK.com. This is one of the headsets that you can use. This virtual reality headset. Drop your phone right into here. Look at that content, that VR content on their site. Other 360-degree video puts you right there up close. And so you just pop it on like this, and then you're able literally to just sit here and put yourself in the room and see everything that's around you 360 degrees. Now, if you listen to music, folks, you can check out the music on their Seek.com headphones. These right here, folks, are 360-degree 4D headphones. The bass on these things are absolutely amazing. Surround sound, so literally when you're listening to it, the sound actually is around your whole head. Again, created by Assistant. If you want to get the headset for the music or the VR headset, simply use this promo code RMVIP2020. RMVIP2020. Christmas is coming up. Some great gifts. In fact, my birthday in 9 days. So I'm just giving y'all a hint. So use a promo code RMVIP2020 and go to Seek.com. And again, we appreciate them being partners with us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
Earlier today, we also caught up with the folks with Until Freedom. They were out in these streets in Atlanta. It was very chilly in Atlanta today.
45 degrees overcast. That wind was blowing 20 miles an hour, so it felt more like it was in low to mid 30s. But that did not stop Tamika Mallory, Linda Sarsour, my son, and others from being out here and encouraging people. First of all, checking people's registration, talking to them about the power and impact of voting. And so here is that.
You know, we at Until Freedom like to work with low propensity voters. That's what they are called. We believe that they're actually high propensity voters if properly engaged. And so we're out in the communities where you obviously, if you look around, you don't see many people out here with those big budgets registering folks. But we're out here making sure we've already registered a few people, making sure folks know about the runoff, understand why they need to show up at the polls, and just engage in our folks.
Right. So one of your folks there, so what she's doing right now, he's
working. This young lady said she needed to check her registration. She wants to make sure her registration is still in place. And he's helping her right now using his smartphone to check her voter registration.
So how long have y'all been here?
So this is our second week in Georgia, but we've actually been, throughout the entire election process on the road across the country.
Hold on a second. Hey, y'all ready to vote?
Yeah.
Y'all good?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, cool. All right, just checking.
Yeah, a lot of the younger people are registered. That's what we're finding. Black women are very receptive. They want the information if they don't have it. It's black men where we struggle the most and we have to have the most conversations. And my son spends a lot of time talking to the folks in, our generation and really trying to help them understand because they have been sucked into the narrative around Trump being, a better choice for us or even if a worse choice, but we need to keep somebody who's going to keep us engaged and somebody that will make us mad so we can do the work. And that's obviously a narrative that is extremely dangerous for our community. So he spends time out here debating with everybody and really getting into it. And that's what we do. Just having presence out here. We believe that one of the most important things is to make sure that our people feel loved and engaged so that they don't feel like we're just saying, y'all are not voting and we're frustrated with we understand that there's a lot of trauma, people feel hopeless, and so we have to actually bring them in and make them feel important.
Well, the point you made about, in terms of what these black men are, look, in 2012, I kept telling everybody, there was a 9-point gap between black men and black women for Obama and Romney.
Right.
It went to 13 for Trump. Then it went to 20 this year. I kept telling people, look, when you saw 9 and 12, that was with it because there were a lot of black men who felt that Obama didn't do enough.
Right.
I said, y'all, that thing is real.
Right.
You can argue all day, but you better have a plan to deal with that because that then impacts everything that goes below the presidential race. So U.S. Senate, congressional races, DA races, whatever. So the target has to be directly to black men. I think a lot of people don't focus on that. And there's been so much intensity about black women, black women, black women, that my deal is like, no, you got to have specific messaging.
Absolutely, for black men.
So y'all.
And we've been spending time like going to the strip clubs, catching brothers before they get in. Not after they come out, because it don't work. It don't work after they come out. But before they go in, so we've been in Georgia specifically last weekend. We went to some of the hottest clubs, the areas where everybody was out. It was warmer, lots of people out, and we specifically focused on black men, stopping them and talking to them.
So when the people got mad at the sisters who put that video together, take their booty to the polls.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, oh my God, this is offensive, this is demeaning to black people. But they were like, look, we gonna hit folks no matter where they go.
Absolutely. And that's what they do every day. So why not use where you are? They say use what's in your hand. Those are their people. That's their demographic. And so they stood and they talked with those people in the language that they understand. If it's not for you, don't listen to it. And for us, a lot of people say, you going to strip clubs? Absolutely. Those people have families. They pay taxes, some of them. They go to school. They have their children in school. They buy groceries. People been shopping. Okay. Some better stocks.
So my son, I was just talking to Tamika about with the discussions you've been having And she said you've been having debates with a lot of these brothers trying to get them to understand. Let's talk about that, what you've had to do and how much extra you had to put into it to get them to understand why they got to get registered and vote.
Well, you know, first and foremost, I want to acknowledge that I understand.
Right.
You know, black men have dealing with so much different trauma. We have trust issues, and rightfully so. You know, this system has never really done anything to rectify things that we've gone through our history. We're overly incarcerated, killed. We're dealing with a lot of different issues. So when you tell them to vote for a system that they've never really seen change, it triggers them. But what I explain to them is that, listen, regardless of what you think is going on, there are consequences for doing nothing.
Right.
You know, if we sit there and we allow these people to continue to move, and we looked at Trump's presidency and we realized he was moving towards, you know, where he was going to be a dictator. He was moving towards dictatorship. We watched him roll back laws. He was putting in different judges.
Look, right now, he only got 40-some-odd days. He's trying to put to death 5 people and several African-American just for the hell of it. They are literally racing to execute folk before he gets out because he got the power to do so right now. That's literally what they're doing.
And when you talk about that, that's evil. It's a white supremacist mind state that has kept us enslaved, that has utilized the 13th Amendment against us. And he was focused on really putting in policy and putting in place something that will completely roll back our civil rights. So to acknowledge that, and then we can acknowledge what happened with Joe Biden. We can acknowledge the crime laws. We can acknowledge the crack. Those things actually happen.
Right.
So I'm not mad at you when you talk about that, but I'm talking about imminent danger. When we're dealing with imminent danger, you know, I understand I understand the pushback, understand the pain that we're dealing with. But when we look at, it's not the lesser of two evils. It's just voting for a better opponent.
But that also was 1994.
Exactly.
This is 2021.
20 years ago.
So the thing now is, to me, in terms of where we are, if you got this race right here, Ossoff Warnock wins, it's a 50-50 tie. The reality is, what I keep telling them is the George Floyd Justice Act, passed by the House, can now get signed into law if Ossoff and Warnock wins and the Dems hold their deal. If they don't win, there's no chance it gets passed.
Exactly. So those are things that I tell them too, is that we understand the reality of what we're dealing with. So you have to be involved in the process. You have to understand. We realize with this administration, they give us nothing. We've seen them take away our civil rights. We've literally seen them take away our rights. So we got to do something different. That's my motto. Like, we need something different. So the more that we put these people in a position to actually be able to make change, we still going to fight them every day. We with them every day. We're going to be on them to make sure that they hold to the end of the bargain. But we know that we got a better chance of winning with this administration than we had before.
Last night, y'all were all gathered. Y'all were live tweeting the debate last night. Get over here, Linda. Y'all were all live tweeting debate last night. How crazy is it what you heard last night from the robot Kelly Loeffler?
Oh, man.
You mean the Nazi Barbie? I mean, this lady is outrageous, really. She really is outrageous. And people only heard, like, probably 1/100th of the type of bigotry that she has. I mean, she was using dog whistles all night. She doesn't know what socialism is. She has no idea what Marxism is. She's just using buzzwords to instill fear in people. And the idea that she kept on calling Warnock the radical liberal, the whole entire... Radical liberal Warnock. First of all, there's no such thing as a radical liberal.
That was all poll tested. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And she just kept on with her messaging. So we also have to... We had a debate about this yesterday, Roland, that she's doing her job because she is appealing to her base.
Right.
And she's talking to her people, right? We always have to water down what we're saying because we want to try to appeal to people she's trying to appeal with and bring them over to our side instead of saying, let's expand our people.
Right.
She didn't water down nothing of what she was saying.
Right.
She was fired up last night. Even as a robot, she was a fired up robot. So I don't know. I just want people to know that we're going to still fight, but we need these 2 Senate seats. So regardless of how you felt that Raphael Warnock did last night, Georgia, we need you in these streets. We need you at the polling sites. I know Reverend Warnock. I went to seminary with him. We're in a interfaith fellowship together. He's an incredible human being who truly believes in dignity and human rights for all people, and he's going to be a great senator for sure.
I had to explain to people one of the reasons why he can't go hard, and we got to be honest, when you're a black man running against a white woman in Georgia, he has to walk a very fine line, which is why I think his commercials look the way they look, and that's what happened.
She tried to bait him a few times too, because she said, "I don't need to be lectured by you." So she was trying to get into that kind of dynamic.
There you go. Now, what I said is, what you need is a Bible study. Right. But that would have been great. Well, I'm going to ask you this here.
Yes.
Everybody can see you.
This is true. It's pretty bright.
You want everybody to know
what we out here doing.
Precisely.
Today's the last day to register to vote. It's important for Georgia to get out.
He did this for you, Roland. That's part of your logo.
I mean, you like cloud, rain. Y'all gonna see me.
Listen, orange is a powerful color. That's right.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
I really hope that because first of all, Osoff and Warnock are really campaigning together. I really hope they utilize what took place with this restaurant, Slutty Vegan, as an example of how David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler really don't give a damn about black businesses. So John Ossoff over the weekend, Saturday was supporting small businesses, and so that was called Small Business Saturday, okay? So it was about touting small businesses. So John Ossoff decides to visit a black-owned vegan restaurant in Atlanta. Here's the video of him visiting there. It's called Slutty Vegan. Well, roll the video, please. So here's the deal. He's in line. You see him standing right there. And so he's, long line there. And so supporting small businesses. All right. So the deal is this here. The Perdue campaign, they decide to sit here and, get an attitude. Here's the tweet that they put up. All right. We're going to show you the tweet that they put up attacking Osoff. Osoff can have the plant burger. We'll take the all-star special. Pick your side, Georgia. So what are they saying? Like the hell with this black-owned business? Is that what they're saying? Well, let's actually talk to the owners of that particular business. They join us right now, and I'm sure this was not what they were hoping folks would talk about. But guess what? All publicity is a good publicity when you're owning your own business. So, so joining us right now with Slutty Vegan are the two owners who are with us right here, and I'm trying to pull up their names. I'm going to pull it right here. Don't have it there in my prompter. So let me get Pinky Cole. Pinky, how you doing? Pinky, you there?
I'm here. How are you?
All right, Pinky. So let's just say this was not where you wanted to be. Did you get a sense that what David Perdue in his campaign was saying is the hell with your business, forget a business like yours. We only support places where there's beef trying to attack him. To me, you're attacking a black-owned business. A small business.
The interesting part here is, if you've never been to Slutty Vegan, one thing you're going to hear about Slutty Vegan is we get a lot of support from the community, right? We do a lot in the community, so people really have our back. So when you mess with Slutty Vegan, you mess with the city of Atlanta. So when Perdue said what he said, a lot of people took it personal. a lot of people. We've contributed almost $500,000 in community initiatives through our organization and through the business alone. So we don't just serve burgers and fries. So for Osoff to come and support a Black business that's a pillar in the community, it meant more than him just standing in line saying, I want to get a dance hall queen. It meant I'm going to support a business that uplifts the community and utilizes their resources and their platforms to lead and to bring people up with them. And people didn't like what Perdue said. I actually laughed. I got to be honest. You know why? Because I'm a former television producer, right? So I'm going to take all the press that I can get for my business. And what that did is it provided me a 15% increase in business. So thank you, Perdue. And what he didn't realize is that the people who didn't know anything about Jon Ossoff knew a lot more about him through the avenue of Slutty Vegan. So I'm glad that he was able to get the exposure that he was probably looking for. And I'm glad that Slutty Vegan did too. So, it's a win-win for the both of us.
Well, and in fact, during there were 100,000 people in the Atlanta metro area who voted for Biden who skipped the Ossoff-Perdue race. Many people believe that if those folks had actually voted for Ossoff or voted for Biden, Ossoff would have beaten David Perdue in the primary there. And so I've talked to people in Atlanta who said Ossoff really needs to do better to get Black folks to know who he is. And so Perdue attacking Ossoff for visiting your restaurant, to your point, and I've heard this from other people, it's ticked a lot of people off in Atlanta, and it has Black folks like, oh, now y'all want to mess with the Black restaurant. And so when he says, pick your side, Georgia, that's Black people clearly are saying, we're going to pick our side, Ossoff over Perdue.
Yeah, listen, the reality of it is this. A lot of people still don't know who Jon Ossoff is, right? He could have won the election last time, but, people weren't familiar with who he is. And let's be honest, right? Getting Black people familiar a second go round to even vote for a runoff election is hard enough, right? So what you got to do to get people to pay attention, you got to do it in the most unconventional way. So if it was me, and I like to call myself a hood politician, if I'm going to get people to vote for me, I'm going to go through the most unconventional avenues to get people to, one, know my name, to know what I stand for, and to know what I represent. And it's going to be beyond a campaign because, listen, you got to meet the people where they at. You got to let people know who you are and what you represent. And I think that, I actually commend Jon Ossoff for coming to one of the hottest concepts in the country that so happens to be in Atlanta to do that. So it's like, if Slutty Vegan like you, everybody like you, you good to go. So I think that a lot more people, especially Black people, got a lot more familiar with Jon Ossoff over the weekend. And Perdue, I think he should retract his statement because it didn't make him look too good.
This was a photo that Jon Ossoff put on his Twitter feed, the two of you, and he said in his tweet, y'all, I'm going around Atlanta for hashtag Small Business Saturday. First stop at a Slutty Vegan ATL. As a result of this, of course, the last day to register is Monday there in Georgia. And so do you think that as a result of this, first of all, are y'all doing anything particular in the restaurant when it comes to getting people to register to vote for this runoff on January 5th?
Absolutely. So, we've already started. We've done an initiative with Impossible Foods and Jermaine Dupree. Actually, you were a speaker on one of those events where we got people excited about voting and the voting process.
Oh yeah, one of the virtual events. Yep.
Absolutely. So we were specifically targeting people who weren't interested in voting. And, I got to be honest, prior to me being a business owner, I wasn't into politics, and I'm getting to learn more about politics, but I wanted to use my platform because I know a lot of people watch the business to get people excited about the election. So after Vote Nick, we have still continued to partner with organizations to get people excited. We're actually working on some fundamental organizations so that we can drive more people to the polls. I've been doing a lot of speaking engagements because people already know how serious this election is. This runoff is just as important as the first one, right? We did a rally with Ossoff and Warnock in Clayton County at my second location in Jonesboro, and we had Common come out and support. So literally, whatever I have to do to get people who look like me more interested in this runoff election, I'm willing to do that. So we've never wavered. We've been consistent on that. And, we got people getting registered to vote when they stand in line. We get over 500 people who stand in line every single day to come to Slutty Vegan. So we utilize that to the best of our ability by getting people registered to vote, getting people in queue on what's going on, the issues that are happening in the communities, and getting them to get involved. And that's why we're more than just burgers and fries.
Y'all put out this tweet here. Go to my iPad, please. Y'all tweeted, he's being a fussy hussy. He never had a one-night stand. Georgia, no need to pick a side. All our burgers come with fries.
Absolutely. So here we are with the press and the propaganda, right? Those are the names of our burgers, right? But one thing about Slutty Vegan is we're for everybody, right? Slutty Vegan loves all people. I don't care if you white, black, blue, yellow, green, Asian, African, it don't matter. One thing we do is we bring the people together in the name of food. And as long as we continue to do that, we got the ear of the people. And when you got the ear of the people, you can get them to do whatever it is that you want to do as long as it is in a positive way. And that's exactly what we've been doing. So, Perdue is still invited to Slutty Vegan. He probably won't come. He'll probably go back to Waffle House. But listen, he can come and have a one-night stand or a fussy hussy any day of the week.
All right, so I got to ask, so is everything at Slutty vegan? Are the fries actual potatoes, or is it something else that's supposed to be fries?
Listen, every single thing, including the owner, myself, is vegan. Everything we do. Listen, when I created this company in 2018, I was very specific. I wanted people to reimagine food, right? The food that we grew up knowing and loving. So 97% of the people who come to my business are not even vegan, they're meat eaters. So we're able to really open up people's consciousness in a way that they've never seen it before while giving them an experience at the same time. So Roland, when you come, you don't even got to stand in line. I got you. I'm going to give you a skip of the line pass.
First of all, I got to be assured what actually tastes like. I mean, I got. Look, my frat Lamel McMorris is a super vegan. He took me some spot in Charlotte. He was like, "No, man, this tastes just like a hamburger," and I almost cussed him out. I said, "You trying to lean on the shield way too much." So I got to be assured. So if I come there, because in fact we will be in Atlanta Thursday. We'll be there through Tuesday. Then we'll actually, our crew, we're gonna be in Atlanta 3 to 5 days each week covering this race. So if I come there, what should I get? Because I am absolutely a carnivore. I'm from Texas, born and raised.
When you come, you got to get the one-night stand. But honestly, Roland, bigger than a fool, you're going to be so proud. As a black man, you're going to come to this business, and you're going to see we organized, right? We give good customer service. We give a great customer experience. The food going to be hot and warm, and we're going to make you feel like the most important person in the world. And that's why people love us. That's why we've been able to open up 4 locations in less than 2 years. So you're just going to be impressed all the way around. So it don't matter what you order. If you want to order the receipt on the menu, you're going to be happy.
But you got to tell me what actually tastes like something, because I can't be in your restaurant cussing now like homeboy at the restaurant in Dallas, because, I'm just saying. Now, first of all, when are y'all open?
So we are open Tuesday through Saturday, and the times differ from each location. We're growing super fast.
All right, what's the time? What's the time in Atlanta? What's the time you open?
It depends on what location. You go to the West End, we open from 12 to 7:30. You go to Clayton County, we open from 12 to 9 o'clock. You go to the heart of Atlanta on Edgewood, we open from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the middle of the night. So whatever you in the mood for, we got you. Whatever time you want to get satisfied.
All right, so here's what we'll do. We'll figure out which one of the locations in which time, and I'll go ahead, because first of all, it's my show. I ain't got to ask nobody permission. So we'll figure out. You let me know what's the best spot that can accommodate our cameras and lights. And so what we'll do is we'll actually do the show from Slutty Vegan. We'll do the full 2-hour Roland Martin Unfiltered from one of your locations. And I promise, I will eat something. I might have to, because y'all know, I might have to bring me some barbecue sauce, because barbecue sauce.
No, you don't.
Come on, I'm just saying. So we'll see. Candace, Kelly, and Michael, y'all eat anything vegan? Any one of y'all?
Absolutely.
I do.
I am not vegan.
Hold on. Pull them up. I need to see who's talking. All right, go ahead. Who was talking? I think Candace first. Go ahead. I think I heard you.
I do. I've seen my sister make vegan cheese out of nuts. I've seen the process, not believed in it. And then I ate it, and it tastes good. She's a vegan. We've gone to vegetarian restaurants for Mother's Day and Father's Day. So Yeah, I've got a lot of people in my family trying to twist me over, but that smell of that bacon, I'm just saying,
Okay.
you know, it's tough.
Kelly, how about you?
I am not a vegan, but I do eat some vegan food, depending on where you get it from.
Right.
It's delicious. I am very familiar with Slutty Vegan. I'm waiting for them to get a brunch menu for DC.
All right.
I'm waiting.
Michael.
Begging.
Michael.
Well, Roland, you know I'm like you. I'm a steakhouse guy. But my sister-in-law is a vegan and has taken me to some very tasty vegan restaurants.
Okay.
Where I had a vegan Reuben, which was excellent.
Well, Pink, I'm the only one who ain't never ate. I ain't nothing vegan. So
well, we're gonna change your life.
Well, I don't know if y'all about gonna change my life, but we gonna try that. So I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. And so I'll get your contact information. So like I say, when we come to Georgia, we're gonna be there pushing the election, and then we'll do the show from one of your locations.
Roland, can you please make sure the camera's on you when you take a bite of that cheeseburger?
Please. No, duh. Please. That's what we do. Duh. All right, Piggy, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. See you soon.
All right, y'all. Again, that's what happens when you are stuck on stupid. Pull the panel back up. That's what happens when you stuck on stupid and you're a politician and you think you taking a shot at somebody and you don't realize how you really stepped into it. And see, now, Perdue, don't bring your ass to Slutty Vegan, because see, don't even come by, because see, then you're really going to be sitting here being a hypocrite if you try to come by. And so black people all across Georgia, David Perdue took a shot at a black-owned restaurant thinking he was taking a shot at John Osoff. So guess what we should do? Take a shot and throw his ass out of Washington, D.C. Deadline to register in Georgia is Monday. Pull the graphic up, please. The deadline is Monday. Monday. Okay? Monday. The election is January 5th. Early person in voting starts December 14th. So please do that.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Republican efforts to steal the election continues. First, Michigan certifies the results for Joe Biden. Pennsylvania Supreme Court says, hell no, Donald Trump. Your legal arguments are nonsense. But in Georgia, where we have two critical runoff races featuring Pastor Raphael Warnock against Kelly Loeffler and then John Osoff versus David Perdue, Republicans are doing their best to try to steal that election by purging people who just voted in November. Yeah, that's actually happening before us. Already, 750,000 absentee ballots have been requested in Georgia. Let's get right to this thing with investigative journalist Greg Pallas. Greg, the latest effort. So explain to people what's going on now, how Republicans are trying to first purge people. We already seen the reports who just voted. I mean, 3 weeks ago, but now they're trying to stop people by saying, oh, you need to have a car registered in Georgia to vote in the runoff?
I know it sounds insane, and I hope the wonderful Cliff Albright. I do work with Black Voters Matter Fund in Georgia. He may not know this yet, but Cliff and Roland, this is the strangest thing. My team down there at midnight on Saturday, gets a notice from the Secretary of State of Georgia, a guy named Brad Raffens Purger. His name really is Purger. He took Brian Kemp's place. He's a Republican, frankly, a Republican stooge. And he issued a new ruling, a proposed rule, that would say that you can't register if you don't have a car registered in Georgia and you've proven that you've paid the registration tax on the car. Now, let me be very careful here and how this works. Now, obviously, no state can require you to buy a car to vote. That would be
that's
the
a
most
poll tax.
Poll tax. That would be the most expensive poll tax in world history. What they are saying is rather they will use the fact that any county election supervisor can use the fact that you don't have a car or you haven't paid the Georgia registration tax as proof that you're not a Georgian, that you don't live in Georgia. And they can therefore, listen to this, they will delay adding your registration to the voter records. By the way, December 7th is the last day to register there. They'll delay your registration until you get a hearing. A hearing. Now, usually you have to have 30 days notice on hearings, and therefore, most people who attempt to register who don't have a car may find that they are told that they have to show up at a hearing in 30 days, which will likely be after the January 5.
Okay, I'm confused here. I'm really confused here. So what happens with a person who doesn't own a car? I mean,
they withhold you. They take your registration, but they don't add your name to the list.
Is there a single state in America that requires you to register a car to vote?
No, and in fact, this is not the first time that the state of Georgia has tried this gambit. I can tell you one voter that got hit by this a couple years ago, my daughter, who was a voter in Savannah. And now understand, it doesn't mean you can't vote. What they might try to do is say that not having a car registered in Georgia means that you don't live here. What the Secretary of State office is claiming is that this is to stop people fraudulently registering in Georgia because of the hot Senate race. This will determine control of the U.S. Senate. So they're afraid. They say they're afraid of people coming into Georgia and simply registering for this runoff. Well, number one, if you are moving to Georgia, you can register for this runoff. But our person Terry Manpearl on the ground there was on the call with the Secretary of State and asked, "Do you have a single case, even one, of a fraudulent voter, someone from out of state voting in the Georgia election in November? Do you have a case of a single voter?" Remember, a lot of people have already mailed in their ballots. Do you have a case of a single voter who's mailed in a ballot that isn't a Georgia resident, an absentee ballot? Now, is there one case? So you're going to stop thousands of. Now, who gets affected by this law? Again, they don't stop you from registering. They just withhold your registration, possibly till after the election. And by the way, with Cliff, I have no doubt we're going to be fighting this. Believe me, we're going to be fighting this. So what they're saying is that now who's affected? Students. Like my daughter, she didn't have a car in Georgia. She has a New York driver's license because on vacations she would drive in New York. So they try to block her from voting. She went through the process and saved her vote in Savannah. But how many, like she said, there's almost no students who are willing to fight this and get registered. In addition, of course, who's the biggest group that's affected? People who don't have cars. Urban, low-income voters. In other words, voters of color. And by the way, the color is generally blue. So they know if they can knock out voters trying to register in Atlanta, new voters, people, remember, they, like you just said, they purge voters, so you have to re-register. We have a site, Save My Vote, 2020.org, where you can see if you've been purged from the Georgia voter rolls. If you are, there's a button, click and re-register. Again, try to do it immediately. Don't wait till December 7th because Georgia, there is a delay factor in Georgia. Even if you have a car, they still have a delay process in Georgia. So please check your registration right now, no matter what, and re-register. Believe me, and by the way, if you don't have a car registered in Georgia and you live there and you're a student or you're low income, you use a bus, or you're high income and you use a bus, you don't have a car.
Right.
Don't let that stop you from registering. Please register. Have all the ID and proof of residence that you can to make sure that no one challenges you, because it's also selective. They're making it so that not everyone, in other words, not necessarily white suburban people, are going to be asked, oh, you don't have a car?
Right.
Because after all, you have families where the car is registered in the husband's name, not the wife's name, or the opposite. So it's very selective because they get to choose whom they challenge. This is really, really dangerous stuff. And when we so again, midnight Saturday, and then they had a meeting to vote it into the rules at 8 a.m. this morning, Monday, 8 a.m. And after a midnight notice. This is ugly stuff. So what they did was, when the pressure came down, they said, oh, we're not going to make it a rule. We'll make it a guidance.
Nah. When you make it a guidance, that's a rule. And so, but this is what I keep telling people, the kind of games Republicans play. And guess what? The people who I've been calling out, these black Republicans in Georgia who have been silent, who are watching these people try to screw black people voting.
Yes, I'm very concerned. Look, we know it's Jim Crow. You can talk about, oh, the fraudulent voters. Where are these fraudulent voters lined up at the border to march into Georgia to vote? Okay? As Cliff can tell you, working there, it's hard to get people to vote once, let alone twice. It's hard, no, people aren't driving in from Wisconsin to vote in Georgia.
Yep.
It's not happening. They're not sending in fraudulent ballots. They had 5 million ballots. They couldn't show us one fraudulent ballot, not one. But I can tell you that they've disqualified a lot of ballots. And of course, we issued the report, which was issued with Black Voters Matter Fund.
Got it.
And on 198,000 Georgians removed wrongly from the voter rolls, based on a phony purge list.
Got it.
This is really serious stuff. And by the way, watch this space. We're going to be taking action. I don't want to say what it is, but believe me, we're not letting this thing go. We're not letting this thing go. This is pure Jim Crow. I don't care who you vote for, but don't tell black people, don't tell students you can't vote. No.
All right.
That's over.
Greg Palast, keep us up to date what's going on. We'll keep pushing the information out and supporting you in all that you do.
See you at gregpalast.com.
Thank you very much, sir. Folks, back to our Roland Unfiltered video in just
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
In an open letter published on Saturday, dozens of black church leaders from Georgia ordered or demanded that Senator Kelly Loeffler to cease and desist her false characterizations of Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock. The various pastors, the Ministerial Alliance, believe Loeffler's claims that Warnock is radical and a socialist are baseless and a broader attack against the black church and Warnock's faith. Loeffler called Warnock a radical liberal 13 times during their debate on December 6th and has criticized the pastor in ads for his association with Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright. Now, Loeffler responded to the letter and Warnock on Twitter by saying, quote, "No one attacked the black church. We simply exposed your record in your own words." Joining us right now is Reverend Darrell Winston of Darrell Winston Ministries and Bishop Carl McRae of Exousia Lighthouse International Christian Ministries. Is that correct? I think I pronounced it right.
That is correct.
All right, then. First of all, let me start with you, Reverend Winston. This letter, very strong language, highly critical of Kelly Loeffler, also by saying, ripping her for her comments about Black Lives Matter, saying she's been quiet about the Proud Boys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The sheer hypocrisy, taking a page from Trumpism, where they think that they could say anything to spew lies and deceit, and thinking that we should just take it lying down. And we're saying to her in no uncertain term, as my grandmother and the elders used to say, growing up, you're a lie and the truth is not in you.
The thing that we're seeing, Bishop McRae, again, Republicans love to talk about faith. They appeal to white conservative evangelicals. They said that folks should not question the faith of Amy Coney Barrett when she was nominated to the Supreme Court, yet they have no problem questioning the faith of Pastor Raphael Warnock.
That is exactly what they said, Brother Roland. They, the cognitive dissonance in that lot, and I do want to say all of them, is amazing to me. That they can stand in judgment of and parse every word uttered by this pastor even 15, 20 years ago. And then to, in her own voice, call what, if anyone were to question the spiritual bona fides of Amy Coney Barrett, she called it disgusting. And that yet she turns around and robotically, repeatedly attacks Reverend Warnock and expect us to let that go unanswered. I don't know what planet she's existed in, but the time has come where we will push back at full-throated at the lies that they hurl and expect them to somehow manifest as truth. We know Scripture. We know our relationship with God. We know the prophetic tradition of Jesus Christ. And we understand that they have co-opted Christianity, but we're taking it back. We're taking it back.
The thing that's also interesting here, Reverend Winston, the thing that's very interesting here when we look at what is going on in this race, when the fact that Kelly Loeffler, one of her first appearances after she replaced Johnny Isaacson, was going to Ebenezer Baptist Church for MLK Day celebration. So, and it's like, so you thought it was so radical, yet you showed up.
And I was there. She was glad to be in the number, or she acted as if she was just glad to be in the mix. And in fact, she spoke and she was very gracious, and she even remarked that she looked forward to coming back again. And so we know then that they are taking this bread and butter plate from the late Lee Atwater, who got his from Nixon, the whole Nixonian playbook, to stroke the fear in their voting bloc, this fear-mongering, sheer racism. But we detest the mockery. And to make mockery, we know that the Euro-American churches and white evangelicals have long expressed their disdain for the African-American congregations and despise and prophetic preaching. I told them this morning, we forget that when Dr. King spoke out against the Vietnam War at Riverside in 1967, he was persona non grata. And then now all of them claim to love Dr. King and seek to hijack his message. They talk about the 63 Dr. King, but they don't want to deal with that 67 and 68 Dr. King that call for the redistribution of wealth. And so we're saying, because you got people in our community who are ahistorical, they don't have a sense of historical continuity, they don't see anything wrong. And so we're so grateful that these over 100 interfaith clergy decided to join us, and more are saying, add me to the list. And in the next few days leading up to the election, we have a multi-tier approach where we're going to be pushing back, because we know then that they, meaning the powers that be and those who bow at the shrine of Trumpism, will say anything or try to get away with saying anything and think that we're supposed to accept it.
Well, one of the things that also jumps out at me on this is that she's attacked him saying he's anti-Israel. Yet there have been a number of Jewish leaders who come out in support of Raphael Warnock. You've got John Ossoff, who is Jewish, who's running with him. So you would think if somebody was so anti-Jewish, they would not be supporting him. But again, what people need to understand, when white conservatives say he's anti-Jewish, they really are appealing to those white conservative evangelicals who hold this very lofty view, this biblical view of Israel.
They equate Zionism with Judaism, and many rabbis here in Atlanta and abroad are working now on a piece where they are addressing the Jewish community, long history with the African American church. One of my favorite, Rabbi Joshua Heschel, who Dr. King marched with, and other rabbis were right there in the midst. So Ebenezer and Warnock has maintained a long history of working in the Jewish community. The services are often interfaith in terms of the commemorative services that the King Center runs there, but there are many different, for instances, Warnocks and the good people of Ebenezer interface and interacting with the Jewish community. And as you know, as of late, there has been this whole push toward silencing and muzzling prophetic preaching that, of course, is concerned not just with redemption from personal sins, but addressing, as Jesus did, those oppressive conditions caused by man. So we ought to be able to say, all Palestinian lives matter. That's preachers of the gospel. Cuban lives matters, and lives in the Congo matters. For them to seek to check the preacher is an attempt to do what they wasn't able to do in times past, but they think that they can now push us into a corner where we just sit down and preach an otherworldly by and by when we die message, so that we can become enablers of systemic evil that they perpetuate on a daily basis.
Well, I certainly hope that folks in Georgia are going to respond in kind to what is happening by turning out at the polls. The best way to shut them up is to beat them. Simple as that. Gentlemen, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you, Roland, for having us. Love your show, and we appreciate you opening up your platform for us to share.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
After Pastor Warnock and Ambassador Andrew Young voted, then Warnock held a news conference where he talked with the media and addressed those. Did not take any questions, but he certainly wanted to speak on what it felt like on this day to vote for himself in this runoff and then do so next to one of his heroes. Here's what Warnock had to say.
Morning, the line was all the way back at the end. And as I went right down the line, and most of the people were senior citizens like me, and I realized how long we've been on this march.
First of all, let me say that it is a very humbling thing for a kid who grew up in public housing to be able to cast a vote for himself to serve in the United States Senate. Only in America is my story even possible. And so I'm grateful for this moment, grateful for my father of blessed memory, and I'm grateful for my mother who grew up in Waycross, Georgia, picking tobacco and cotton during the summers. And today she gets to help pick her son to be one of the next 2 United States senators from the great state of Georgia. So I just want to encourage everyone to exercise your constitutional right to vote. And as I've been saying all across this state, we should no longer be talking about election day. The stakes are too high. This is election season. And so early voting begins today. People should make their way to the polls. It's a beautiful day to vote. So make your way to the polls. Early voting today, December 14th through December 31st. We also remind people that they can vote by mail. It was a humbling thing to vote for myself today, but let me tell you, more than a name, what's really on the ballot. Healthcare is on the ballot. A livable wage is on the ballot. Criminal justice reform is on the ballot. Voting rights. All of these issues are on the ballot. And so thank you so much. Make a plan to vote. Gather everybody in your circle. This is a defining moment in American history. Georgia is at the center of it. Let's show up the way Georgia does. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Ambassador Young voting with.
Yeah, let me just say I'm deeply honored to have Ambassador Young here. He's the reason I'm able to stand here.
Amen.
He and those who fought alongside him. Our ballot is a bloodstained ballot. And so I want to thank him and all the others who fought alongside him, and I'm grateful and deeply.
Ambassador Young, do you
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
George, I know things are tough right now, but I want you to know help is on the way. My administration is preparing to beat COVID-19 and get economic relief to the American people. On day one as your president, I'm prepared to sign a COVID relief package that fully funds the public health response needed, led by Georgia's own CDC. It will ensure free testing and vaccination for every American. and will get small businesses the assistance they need right now. Let me be clear. I need Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff in the United States Senate to get this done. There are folks in Congress threatening to do everything in their power to block our efforts. We need you to get out there and vote for John Ossoff as well as Raphael Warnock. We need them in the Senate. God bless America and may God protect our troops.
I'm Raphael Warnock.
And I'm John Ossoff.
And we approve this message.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
Jim, I want to ask you this here. I want to ask you this here about this particular race here between Loeffler and Warnock. It is about turnout. It is about turnout. But what you have here, Jim, though, is you have Kelly Loeffler, who's saying I'm an outsider, who is viciously attacking Black Lives Matter, who is rolling with this whole notion, the polar whites of the world, saying they are a terrorist organization. And so Kelly Loeffler, I'm going to get your thoughts on it, her deal is, if I can scare the hell out of white voters as much as I can, by saying this man is a lover of terrorist organizations and Black Lives Matter. But you noted in your column when she visited Ebenezer in January. So was he a terrorist then?
That's a good question, isn't it? Yeah, she was there on MLK Day. That was kind of her public debut as a U.S. senator, because she had just been sworn in a couple of weeks earlier, and she had kept a lid on her public announcements. She was, at that point, she was being groomed as kind of a suburban-friendly replacement for Isaacson. And Isaacson had cultivated this interesting relationship with Warnock. I mean, he had been at MLK ceremonies for the last 25 years. He was the most dependable Republican attendee, and sometimes he was the only Republican of note there. And it was kind of his statement, his very quiet statement that the Republican Party couldn't survive as a white-only party. And Loeffler was up there to kind of replace that. She said the right words. I mean, they were a little bit vague, but she carried that off well, relatively well. And ever since, I mean, she got tied up in that fight with Doug Collins for from February really up into November, and then, man, her focus has been on Warnock, and yes, she is. Clearly, they have been going through years and years and years of Warnock sermons. I mean, the guy is out there. It's and in the case that I cited, they had to go back to 2011 to pick up on maybe just a slight lack of phrasing. America, you can't serve God and the military. That was the last 3 minutes of a 45-minute sermon, and if you listen to the front part of that, Roland, you've been to enough churches. You know what was being said. It was a matter of priority.
Hell, my wife is a minister. My wife is a pastor. I know about preaching.
Yeah, you serve God first, and then you go to your second to your second love. And that's all he was saying. That is all he was saying. And yes, that got twisted. And it's very clear that they're trying to do the same thing that they did with Jeremiah Wright and Obama in 2008. And but to your point, what's happening here is that you've got both Ossoff and Warnock running as a team. They're running as a ticket. Perdue and Loeffler are running as a ticket. And clearly what they have decided is that Warnock is the man to attack, because if black voters turn out for him in heavy numbers, they're in trouble.
Well, I really hope they are going to be in trouble. Jim Galloway, very good column there in Land Journal Constitution. We appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. This Robert, I want to pull you in here. You're there in Georgia. Look, it's going to be a turnout deal. Again, they want to demonize Warnock as much as possible. They want to tag him with defund the police. They want to tag him with Black Lives Matter. But the bottom line is this here. Are you seeing black people extremely energized? Are you seeing those suburban areas energized? And then you've got these stuck-on stupid Republicans, what they're doing. At the news conference today, talking about stop the steal. They making all the allegations in a second. I'm about to play this video of the Georgia election official going off on Republicans, sowing seeds of discontent in the state.
Well, you're absolutely right, Roland. And what you have to realize what's going on here in Georgia, the reason that they are attacking Warnock like this is because they are afraid for their lives. Kelly Loeffler has no resume. She has nothing to fall back on. She's running a commercial right now for our friend Janelle in it, talking about how she lived paycheck to paycheck to get through college, when in reality, her family leveraged their farm to pay her way through college and grad school. She worked for a job for about 3 years and then married the CEO. He bought her a basketball team and he bought her a Senate seat. That is the extent of what we know about Kelly Loeffler here in Georgia, and that's why they have to attack Warnock in this way. This morning, Rainbow Push Coalition, along with Latasha Brown, Black Voters Matter, C.K. Hoffler, the National Bar Association journalist Greg Palast, filed a lawsuit. Our local counsel, Gerald Griggs, demanding that they return the 200,000 names to the election, to the rolls that were purged by Secretary of State Raffensperger, so that we can have a free and fair election in January. If you return 200,000 people to the voting rolls and you get the normal 10% of turnout that you get in a general election, that's enough to sway the election one way or the other. So Republicans have been running on a campaign of voter suppression in Georgia for over 20 years, whether that's the poll tax that they disguised as voter ID 20 years ago, whether it's gerrymandering and redistricting in 2010, the Diebold machines, which were in use in Georgia from 2000 till the last election cycle. And what we're seeing now is that by motivating the 35% of the state that's African American, the 12% of the state that's Latino, the 52% of the state that's women, the LGBTQ population, our college student population, you have the ability to flip the state permanently. Demographically, they have been a blue state for 20 years. It's been voter suppression that's kept that from happening in the actual voter turnout. And what we saw in 2018 was when Stacey Abrams ran a bold, progressive campaign, not a Jason Carter campaign, not a Michelle Nunn campaign, where you just tried to get those old Reagan Republicans who used to be Democrats 40 years ago to come back, but really tried to motivate people who were in part of the progressive base to turn out. We saw that she nearly won that election. That went a long way to flipping the state. So we have to keep motivating those people, fight for voting rights, fight to get people back on the rolls, and that's how you win elections, not by trying to cajole former Confederates to come back to the Democratic Party.
Yeah, Roland, my colleague is absolutely right, but that only works, we've seen from 2018 and 2020, is when the coalition that he just described gets to the polls and votes in huge numbers. The Republicans can't win without voter suppression. They can't win without scaring their voters. The only way they can motivate their base to get out is to suppress the Democratic base and the people of color base and the suburban women base, because there are not enough Republican votes who follow their unfriendly policies or offensive policies. And so you're right. In the end, it's about getting your base out to vote. But the only way the Republicans can do that is to scare them and to suppress the Democratic votes, or to throw people off the voting rolls and what have you. So the playbook, we've seen it over and over again. The question for January 5th is, can the Democratic base, can Black folks get out and Latinos and women get out in major numbers again? Because that's the only way you find yourself with a true blue state called Georgia. It's the only way. And it's a heavy lift that we've done once, but can we do it again?
Well, again, and that's why I dare say, if you're trying to get black people out, you ain't got no problem with defund the police. Monique?
Most Black people don't even agree with defunding the police.
I'm sorry, show me. I'm sorry, show me. Hold up, based upon what? No, stop. Based upon what? Stop. Based upon what? Show me proof.
Show you proof of what?
Show me proof.
data.
Show me the data. What's the polling data?
That black people.
What's the polling data?
Community don't want you to defund the police. They want the police to be better. They want the police to have enough funding.
What poll is that?
They want to put money into mental.
What poll is that?
Reduce the police
what
in your community.
Poll is that, Scott?
Scott,
what poll is that? Scott, what poll is that?
Reprogram
Scott, what poll is that?
It's a dumb state.
Scott, what poll is that?
Well, the Washington Post poll, the Pew Trust, look it up. All of them say that the majority of people of color do not want the police to be defunded. They want the police to be better in their communities.
Monique, go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I noticed you didn't really cite exactly the poll. You just threw some names out. But go ahead, Monique. Hold on. Nice try. But you're like, oh, look it up. Go ahead, Monique.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Roland, are you going to act like you don't know that Black people in poor communities want the police, that they are the ones who call the police more than anybody else? That they want.
Hold up. That wasn't the question I asked. No, stop. That wasn't the question I asked.
I'm speaking.
No. If you're gonna say something, if you're gonna say I said something, be factual. Go ahead.
A whole lot of male energy.
First of all, this ain't male energy or female energy. It's called energy.
Speaking.
No, if you're gonna say something, back it up. Go.
Let's just have manners.
Go.
What Scott
I got manners.
Was absolutely correct, right? That it is Black people in poor communities who want more police presence rather than less. It is people who don't need Black police presence in their communities, who don't ever see the police, who if they see the police, it's an exception.
I'm aware of that, but that's not what I asked.
See, here you go.
No, but if you actually answer the question I asked, as opposed to trying to deflect, answer the question I asked.
I believe I answered when I said, you know, and I know, as Scott said, that Black people by and large want more police presence in poor neighborhoods than less. And the reason why we are saying defund is because we have an understanding through study, through empirical evidence, through science, that we can use less money and more community presence and smarter policing to get to a different result. All I am saying, and I agree with my brother Scott, which this is like 2 weeks in a row, and I'm impressed with myself, is in Georgia, y'all scaring these people. And if you don't want Georgia, fine, go ahead. Stand, beat.
They're not scaring them in Georgia. No, they're not.
Defund the
No, they're not. No, they're not.
The police off. You know what?
They're not scaring them in Georgia. They're not.
You know Georgia. Listen.
They're not.
The people, the good white folks who you want, they don't want this. And if you think that just Black people can vote and we can win in Georgia, then I got a bridge in Georgia that I can sell you. It's on Lake Kono.
And here's the whole deal, Robert. There are white people who are also turning out who have enough sense to not fall for the Republican okie doke, who understand when people say, don't you dare try to say reclaim your time when you want to talk now.
I'm reclaiming
Here's the whole deal, Robert. People are smart enough to know when people have said defund the police, they mean shifting of resources. They mean like in San Francisco, as opposed to sending the cops out when there's a mental call, they send out mental health professionals. Those who advocate defund the police have explained what it means. The opposition simply does not want to hear that. Robert, final word.
They are not smart.
Robert, final
dumb.
word. Robert, final word. Robert, final word that I'm about to talk about Georgia, the election official going off next.
I think when we're talking about winning Georgia being the most important thing in politics right now, you have to dance with who brought you here. It was a bold, progressive agenda. It was turning out young people, turning out African Americans, turning out minorities, turning out liberal whites, turning out people who are against the idea of Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue and Donald Trump. And I think you can't change your messaging now. Fight through, push through, and that's how you win.
Go with the one who brung you. That's all I'm saying. And here to all the Democrats out there who run in purple districts, maybe you should run some better races and not allow yourself to be branded. Maybe because your messaging was whack.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
All right, folks, here in Atlanta, we're broadcasting, of course, still covering the Georgia runoff here in Atlanta. We've been all over the state, and the folks, Black Voters Matter, they've also been all around this state as well. And what they have been doing is battling not just to get black folks registered to get them to vote, but also how Republicans are trying to stymie black folks from voting. They were in Brunswick, Georgia today in an emergency hearing. Joining us right now is Cliff Albright, the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Cliff, always glad to have you on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Always glad to be here, Roland. Thanks.
All right, Cliff, so tell our folks exactly what happened today in Brunswick, Georgia.
Yeah, so we were in Brunswick, Georgia on actually a pre-scheduled stop to do one of our regular events of doing a food and toy donation when we found out last night that there was going to be an emergency hearing called because of these complaints that have been filed by this group called True the Vote, which is definitely a misnomer. This is a group, conservative and in many ways just outright racist group that has gone around even in previous election cycles trying to get voters purged from lists. What they're doing right now in Georgia is that they're saying they're going to file complaints in all 159 counties. But today in Glenn County, what was called was an emergency hearing because of what they had filed in Glenn County. For those who don't know, Glenn County is where Brunswick is, which is where Ahmaud Arbery was murdered and where the DA that tried to bury the case at first was recently voted out. And so that's why this county, like many others, is being targeted for this type of voter purge. So there was a court hearing today, which we attended. It was a 3-person, it's really a 5-person board of elections, but only 3 members were present. And the person from this organization, actually, it was a local representative, a former state representative who represents that area, was the person that was actually presenting the complaint in court. Then they allowed for some public comments. I spoke on behalf of not only Black Voters Matter, but also a coalition of organizations that had sent a letter from that Legal Defense Fund, as well as other organizational partners that we have from across the state. We sent a letter, and so I referenced the information in that letter, and I explained to them why it would be a violation of not just federal law, but state law for them to move forward and to consider this complaint. You're not allowed to have any kind of purging or cleansing of voter lists within 90 days of an election, let alone within 2 weeks of a federal election. So that on the face of it made it an irrelevant and frivolous claim. And so I let them know that, as well as some other issues. Some other local folks gave their public comments as well. And after very brief deliberations, the board decided to not find probable cause, which essentially meant that they would not be moving forward with this complaint from this group.
Now, what folks also need to understand is that the judge also ruled that the Secretary of State should sit down with various civil rights groups, including Black Voter Matters, over the purging of folks from the voting rolls. We, of course, the LaTosha Brown, and when we were, of course, in Savannah on Friday, she was at the state capitol. She posted some photos of that on her social media page. I'm going to show that in a moment. But, Cliff, what is the status of that?
Yeah, we still haven't heard back from the state on that. And so, what we're hoping is that the court will find that they're just in contempt of court. The court gave an order which basically said to work this out. We've done our due diligence trying to get them to respond by phone, by email, and as you referenced, even going down to the Capitol building to meet with the Secretary of State. They continue to fail to respond. And so what we're hoping is that the court will ultimately just find them in contempt and decide to rule in our favor. And with the remedy that we're seeking is that those voters, and again, this is a purge that goes back to 2019. This isn't a purge from this year, but the implications, the consequences of that purge are still being felt today, because we don't know how many of those 200,000 that were legally purged have not yet been re-registered. So the remedy we're seeking is that they automatically get re-registered. We don't want them to have to file anything, to call anybody, to jump through any hoops. They were purged illegally, and so we want them to automatically be put back on the rolls. They know who they purged. They know who they need to put back on, and that's what we're demanding. If the Secretary of State continues to hide and duck and dodge and try to avoid us, then we expect for the court to find them in contempt.
And again, let me be real clear here. The courts ruled for y'all to sit down, and the Secretary of State has not even responded?
He's ducking and dodging, Roland. They have not responded to repeated attempts to work this out as ordered by the court. There's really nothing else to be done. We can't do anything more. We essentially almost had to sneak into the Capitol building just to serve them with the papers, to serve them with the notice that we were trying to work this out and to have a discussion around it. And so there's really nothing else that we can do other than to wait for the court to decide that the Secretary of State is being non-responsive and they just need to rule in our favor. I mean, if one side is not going to present their information, is not going to follow the court order, we don't need to be dragging this out. And we're really concerned that that's what's going on here, that the Secretary of State feels that they could just drag this out, that at some point the courts will just have to decide, well, look, it's only 2 weeks left. There's nothing we can do. And so we know that that's the strategy. That's why we were aggressive in trying to meet with them. They're failing to respond. We think that the court needs to act now.
In fact, Cliff, I'm showing these are the photos that Latasha posted from 3 days ago, where, to your point about sneaking in, they were avoiding y'all, and y'all had to track them down to serve them with these papers. They did not actually want to meet with Black Voters Matter.
No. When they found that we were in there and had the papers to give them, it was like catching somebody with their hands in a cookie jar. They were pretty much like, oh, how you get in here? Well, that's what we do. We find a way. Whatever it is that we have to do to protect our folks' right to vote, we're going to make that happen. And whether that's going to the Capitol to serve them with papers, or whether that's showing up today in Glenn County to demand that these voters not be purged, and that they follow the law, that you can't do this kind of list maintenance within 90 days. We're going to do whatever it takes to let them know that we're not standing by it. And what's important is that, especially in these rural counties, because the same thing they're trying to do in Glenn County, they're trying to do in counties all over the state. They're trying to do it. They already tried it in Cobb and it was shot down. They tried it in Muskogee, and that Board of Elections actually found that there was some probable cause to at least look into it. Doesn't mean that they're purging folks, but still, even looking into it has a chilling effect, right? It has the effect of intimidating voters with the thought that they might be asked, why did you change your address? Where are you going? What are you doing? Who are you voting for, right? And so they try to do these things in these rural counties. And part of why we do what we do, why we roll through in these communities with the Blackest Bus in America, is because we want our folks to know that they are not alone. And there were several people from Brunswick in that courthouse today who said, you know what, I thought I was going to be here by myself. I was so glad to see y'all. That's the kind of impact that we want to have in communities. We don't want anybody in our communities who's trying to fight for truth. We who believe in freedom shall not rest. We don't want folks to feel like that they're alone in these battles. So it was really important to us that we were there today, that we were in the Capitol the other day serving those papers, and we will continue to be in every county, wherever there are Black voters facing these issues. That's where we're going to show up, along with some incredible state partners. Big thanks to LDF for drafting the letter that was sent to the Glenn County Board of Elections today.
And again, Cliff, that is the thing that so here we are in the middle of an election. We're sitting here trying to get folks out, and y'all are on the front lines just to make sure that Republicans in this state are not trying to intimidate black voters, trying to suppress black voters, because they clearly understand the power of the black vote, and this is how they want to win. They do not want to win on the issues. They frankly want to win by cheating.
Yeah,
and it's
and
hilarious
I said that to them.
they keep yelling, stop the steal. They keep yelling, stop the steal, but that's what they're trying to do.
Right. The levels of hypocrisy are mind-blowing, right? And I mentioned that to them in my public comments to the Board of Elections today, because what they were trying to argue is that they don't know who these voters are, right? They're just doing this. They're just trying to clean the rolls. We don't know who's going to be impacted. We don't know what the race of the voters are. And what I told the Board of Elections is, look, we got to be honest here, right? We just got to deal with the reality. We know why they're doing this. They know who it is that would be purged by this. In the same breath that they were arguing that they know that these weren't military people, because they didn't want to act like they were trying to purge military. So they said, no, we researched it and these aren't military. And we researched it and these aren't students. So like I said to the Board of Elections, I said, you know what? They're telling us they know everything there is to know about these voters. They know whether they're military, whether they're students. They know their shoe size. They know what their favorite food is to eat. But somehow they want us to believe that they don't know their race. That doesn't make sense, right? That just flies in the face of everything that we know. We know why it is that they're doing this. We know that they're mad because Georgia flipped in November. We know that they're scared, as you said, that they're running scared because of the historic voter turnout that we've seen in the first week of early voting, plus the vote by mail. We know that they're scared because of the momentum. We know that they're mad because of what happened in Brunswick and Glenn County, where they got rid of the DA. This is why they're using these tactics, and especially in a place like Brunswick and Glenn County, we need not be naive about what's going on. In fact, one of the acts that I cited and that the LDF cited in the letter, this isn't just a violation of the Voting Rights Act or the Help America Vote Act. The intimidation that this represents goes to the 1871 Ku Klux Klan Act. And so I mentioned that in court in the hearing today, and I looked dead at the representative who was bringing this hearing when I referenced the KKK Act, because that's all that's going on. It is the same kind of intimidation. They want our voters to have to answer questions about why they're voting a certain way or where they lived or where they moved to and all this stuff. That's intimidation, and we're not having it. That's what we're trying to do today. That's what we're trying to do with the lawsuit that we have against the Secretary of State.
All right, then. Cliff Albright, we certainly appreciate it. Look, keep us abreast. Whatever happens, y'all know y'all can come on here at any time to break this thing down, and we're going to keep, pressing and making it perfectly clear that we are watching and paying attention.
Thank you so much, Roland. Be on the lookout. Valdosta's next up. We're fighting for that as well, too. And that's, in this case, thousands of voters that they're potentially trying to purge in Valdosta, Georgia.
All right, then. All right, Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Roland.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, last week, the first day of early voting, Raphael Warnock went to the polls and he voted with Ambassador Andrew Young. Well, today, John Ossoff actually decided to go vote. We were there, and he actually had a little shout out for our folks who watched this show. So check this out.
Hello to the whole Roland Martin.
As I said, John Ossoff met with a group of folks, not at the Metropolitan Library, across the street at a park. We were actually there covering that. He spoke to them. And also, he was joined by folks with the Millennial Civil Rights Project. They were there standing with him as he went and voted early today. And there should be, y'all should be seeing some video there of John Ossoff in the voting booth, casting his early vote. Last week, of course, Warnock voted. More than 1.3 million folks have voted early already, in-person voting. But in addition to in-person voting, also folks who voted early by absentee ballot. They have drop boxes in various locations across the country in order for people to be able to drop off their ballots if they don't want to stand in line. Now, of course, Republicans do not like those drop boxes at all. They don't like those drop boxes at all. And so what they prefer is for folks to stand in line. It was not a long line. In fact, Osoff, he voted rather quickly compared to last week when Raphael Warnock voted. Was a lot more folks in line that first day. But again, it was good to see the folks out there at Metropolitan Library here in Atlanta, where he went and voted to cast his ballot. And of course, there are three races. Folks are voting on: his race against Senator David Perdue, Warnock against Kelly Loeffler, and as well as an African-American who is running for the Public Utility Commission. That's an important position. He would be the first Democrat elected in 20 years to that particular position. And so we're going to actually chat with him a little bit later this week. And so bring you Daniel Blackman talking about his important race. So these three runoff races are on the ballot. All efforts are out there to get folks focused on that.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
Actress Lynn Whitfield starred, of course, in Greenleaf on the
Lynn Whitfield,
First Lady of the church. So it was only fitting that she would be out here to speak on behalf of John Ossoff. After she addressed the crowd here, she and I had an opportunity to chat about politics.
Lynn Whitfield.
Hello, Roland Martin.
It's not uncommon for you to be sitting in front of a church first lady. But this ain't Greenleaf.
This is not Greenleaf. I'm so excited because we're out here. The NAACP and Kennesaw University pulled together this rally of young people who have just registered to vote, people who have been in the streets protesting and about to do the greatest protest of all, which is to have their voice heard through the vote. Because these young people are the people who are going to keep everybody honest once we vote them in. And I'm in Georgia, the epicenter of everything right now, for Ossoff and Warnock, and this is a rally. We are a month out from the next election, and it's very exciting. These kids, your brothers were up there stepping, and the students are out here very excited and very engaged. So I'm very, very happy about where we are right now, but we have so much work to do.
Now, for the folks out there who don't know, who don't realize, you are a political junkie. Let me tell y'all something. When I was at CNN, Lynn used to be texting me when I was on the air. Roland, say this. I'm like, Lynn, I'm working. What you doing? I don't text you at work.
No, but really, though, because Roland, throughout his time, throughout your time, you have spoken for our community clearly. And I had access to you when I was so upset about what they were doing and how they were making Sarah Palin a star. This was in 2008, and you helped me to understand how it works, because I did exactly what you said, So I just want to thank you, and y'all, we all need to thank him, because he is always on the front line, no matter what. You're on the front line for our community, and I so appreciate you.
A lot of people don't want to hear celebrities talk about politics.
I don't blame them.
But you also don't care, because you have always been actively involved in not just the election, but also when the election is over.
Yeah, well, you know what, Roland? It's not about celebrity. I mean, I just come as a citizen. I come because, my mother is 89 years old, and my daughter is still a millennial. I come because I really love this country, and I really am so upset about what has been happening over the last 4 years. So I'm not coming with any authority of my career. I come with the commitment of I just want to be involved in rolling up my sleeves and helping. I mean, look at I made this. I made that, my vote fashion, y'all. I made, you know what I mean? I just love America. This is a cool spot, and it has to be shared. So I'm not coming like a celebrity, I just come like a Baton Rouge homegirl.
But speaking of that, there's a mayoral election in Baton Rouge on Saturday.
I know.
And the sister's trying to get reelected.
I know. We're sending some stuff down, and we had a campaign event, virtual birthday for her, and they're trying all kinds of shenanigans. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, because she knows I'd be there if she needed me, but we're going to do some more virtual stuff.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, then. Well, it's always a pleasure chatting with you.
It's
glad to see you out here standing up on behalf of John Osoff and Raphael Warnock.
Yes, indeed. They are great men, and they will be great senators, so I'm excited.
All right. Thanks a bunch.
All right. Thank you. I can't even. Let me get to this.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.